Come tomorrow, a high 57 can be expected. And your KSCO News Talk time coming up at 10:06. Hour number 1 of the Saturday special begins right here, AM 1080 KSCO.
Josh Stevens.
Michael Zwerling.
May I ask you a personal question?
My favorite.
Do you care about Santa Cruz history?
Of course I care about Santa Cruz history.
What a dumbass question, huh? Yeah, well, we are going to be launching a 2-hour weekly program right here on your favorite radio station.
No way.
Starting tomorrow. And the host of that program is none other than Dick Scoppettone, and he's going to be with us as our special guest. Why do you think they call it the Saturday Special? Because we have special guests. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be promoting the 8 shows that Dick is going to be. Hopefully, if they go as well as I think they're going to, it'll become beyond 8, more permanent. But what were you saying, Dick?
You sound like Ed McMahon.
Oh,
keep going. Don't let me stop you.
Oh, you mean that? Okay. Dave Michaels.
Good morning, MZ.
How in the world are you?
I am doing fantastically all right.
Are we at the tail end of our January sale?
We're not at the tail end. We're kind of in this little valley right here because we're going to kick it up again.
We're on final descent?
No, we're going to pick back up for Monday through Thursday of this week.
You're kidding?
No, I'm not kidding. I am not kidding.
Happen?
Because that's just the way we did it. That's just the way we did it. It was unplanned. So if you want to score on these deals, right, buy 2, get 1 free. Everybody knows that by now. We were going to extend it through Thursday, and that's because Friday I'm taking off with the kids. We're going to go stay in a cabin up in the mountains. It's going to be really great. So I'm taking Friday off. Otherwise, it would be all week. But next week, it will be Monday through Thursday from 12 to 7 p.m. If you're listening to this on replay, that is the week through the 17th of January. So don't show up,
okay.
Because this show does replay at night. And
it does replay at night, and who knows where else it might show up.
So every Saturday, MZ, I'm out there at the Dave Cave, even when we have the sale. And we have,
Including today, right?
Including today, right. Yeah. We have a whole bunch of products. What I want to mention right now is the liquid versions of the Tangy Tangerine, Liquid Glucogel, and Liquid OsteoFX. Right?
I'm going to start to drool on the
These
microphone.
are the 3 best products. And, maybe it's even an appropriate... Oh, and ProstFX as well. Maybe it's appropriate that I just grab these products because these are excellent for aches and pains, right? So as you get older, things start to go bad.
Dave, you know how strange things tickle me.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the strange things that tickles me is people who don't know how to say the word prostate. It comes out prostrate. Do people come into the Dave Cave and say, "What have you got for my prostrate?"
I do, and I tell them, lie down. The ProstFX, though, is if you're having prostate problems, all 4 of these products, MZ, are good. They're just good stuff, right? So these are good for aches and pains, and of course your prostate. I just laugh
hysterically when we get these email inquiries about the health, health at criticalhealthnews.com or something, and the subject line says, "My prostrate."
Yeah.
For people who don't know, maybe prostrate is a position that you lie down. You're lying down. I guess you could be either, face up or face down, but it means that you're lying down. Yep. And so, that is not a part of your body any more than up is part of your body, right?
Well, that's great. So you have you have plenty of these liquid things that we don't normally have.
We don't normally have that, so that's why I want to tell people we do have the liquid glucogel, the liquid Tangy Tangerine, and the liquid OsteoFX.
But not too many. You better get here quick before they sell out, right?
You have to get here quick, MC.
Okay.
They are selling. I mean, it's no joke. We really are running low on Tangy Tangerine. And other than that, I think and Ultimate Daily Classic, we're all out of that. But we do have a good stock of other things, so get down there as soon as you can. The Dave Cave sale happening through Thursday of next week.
This is excellent,
and go
Dave
Niners.
Michaels.
Go Niners, right?
Yeah.
Go Niners.
And go Dave Michaels.
Yes.
No, don't go. I mean, we'll stay.
Well,
go.
Yeah,
you got to go or else you won't sell anything.
Yes. I'm excited about the show, though. This is going to be great. Did you already mention who the guest is or no?
The Dick Scoppettone. Not just a Dick Scoppettone.
It's going to be great.
The Dick Scoppettone.
So enjoy the show, and I'll be out at the Dave Cave until 2 today.
Sounds good to me.
Good morning. A brighter day is here. Good morning. May we bring you cheer.
We've got time, we've got tunes, nighttime tunes and temperature.
Get up and go, it's today you know on KSCO Radio.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Saturday special. Yee-haw! For Saturday, January 11th, in the year of our Lord, 2020. Hey, that sounds pretty cool to be able to say that. And it's true, too. Yeah. I didn't think I'd make it this far, but I did. How cool, huh?
Good morning. Now stay right here on KSCO Radio.
Stocking was looked on as something shocking. Now heaven knows anything goes. Anything's goes in anything goes. Only use hand afterwards when hiding goes. Anything goes. Anything's gone back today and goes back today and black's white today and day's night today. When those guys today, the women guys today are just silly chiselos. So go on, weekly romance or I know that you're bound to answer when I propose. Anything Just think of those shots you got, and those knocks you got, and those blues you got, from that news you got, and those pains you got, if any rage you got, from those little radios. So go and die, grab your answer, I know that you're bound to answer when I propose. Anything goes, anything goes, anything goes.
My favorite part. What is that sound, Dick Scoppettone? Whose voice that you heard? That was his voice on there. At least one of them, right? What you?
Yeah. Whatever at the end is our producer, Lenny Warnaker, saying whatever through an echo machine of some...
Oh, there's this one too. Yeah, this was your biggest hit. Is that correct?
Right.
Feelin' Groovy.
Yeah.
And you guys came out with your cover before Simon and Garfunkel,
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
How can that happen?
Yeah, well,
It's just amazing.
speaking of, we're talking about Lenny. He found an advanced copy of the Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme album.
Oh, wow.
And that's where Feelin' Groovy was on that Simon and Garfunkel album. That was his find, basically.
So wait a minute. So it would I would think that the original version that was written by the people who
Right, Paul Simon wrote it, yeah.
would come out first, and the cover would come out afterwards.
Yeah, you would think so. This was kind of odd. I think the album was slated for release. The Simon and Garfunkel album was slated for release for like a couple months down the road. How he got his hands on a copy of it, I don't know. But, you know, with the copyright laws, at least in those days, the way it was, anytime anything is, quote, published, the word published is the key here, it is now available for anyone to use. You don't have to get permission from anyone to use it. You have to pay royalties on it, but you don't have to.
I want you to explain that to us, but here, I got to hear, I want to hear the end of this.
Yeah.
It's such a good song. Okay. goosebumps listening to that. So Dick Scoppettone is a member of the Harpers Bizarre, previously known, a local band that started in Santa Cruz in the early 60s.
Would be probably 64.
Oh my God, Chattanooga Choo Choo is coming up. I wasn't going to play this, but it's so good. Like, do you mind if we
No,
play?
go for it.
By the way, we broke one of our own rules.
I know, talking over the music.
Whack,
That's
whack.
the Chattanooga choo-choo.
Fire that guy.
Track 29. We gotta get there on time. We can afford to board the Chattanooga choo-choo. We got our fare and just a little to spare. You leave the Pennsylvania station bound for the port. Read a magazine and then you're in Baltimore. Dinner in the diner, nothing could be finer. Do another number down in Carolina. When you hear the whistle blowing next to the bar, then you know that Tennessee is not very far. Shovel all the coal in, gotta keep it rolling. Woo-woo, Chattanooga, there you are. There's gonna be a certain party at the station. Satin and lace. I used to call Bunny Face. She's gonna cry until I tell her that I'll never roam. So Chattanooga choo-choo, won't you bring me home? She's gonna cry until I tell her that I'll never roam. So Chattanooga choo-choo, won't you bring me home? Won't you bring me on home? Won't you bring it on home? Won't you bring me home? Won't you bring
Well, I know you guys were teenagers when you started the Tikis.
Yes.
But by the time that hit song, Chattanooga Choo Choo, was out, you were probably in your 20s. Is that
Yeah,
right?
early 20s. I want to say 21, 22. Thanks for bringing those up, by the way. That's fun. I don't often get to listen to that stuff.
I
so, but
had a
it's-
funny
yeah.
feeling that might be the
Yeah,
case.
Yeah. But I got to tell you, get some quick background.
Please.
2 of the 3 sessions, the Anything Goes and the Chattanooga sessions were big sessions, like close to 40 pieces, and they were recorded at Western Studios on Sunset in Hollywood in Studio A, which is their main room. And that was the room that Sinatra did a lot of his stuff. In addition to Capitol Records, Western was another spot for most of the artists that were recording. They
Right.
recorded at Western. But the arranger on Chattanooga and Anything Goes was a guy by the name of Perry Botkin Jr.
Ooh,
Yeah.
no matter what shape your stomach's in, right?
I think so, yes.
The Alka-Seltzer song.
Yes, yeah, right. That's right. And Perry, he was my favorite arranger, and he could just write arrangements that were just the best in the world. Anything Goes is my favorite arrangement, but Feelin' Groovy, Leon Russell arranged. And Leon told Lenny, our producer at the time, because Lenny called him and said, you think you can do something with Feelin' Groovy with woodwinds? And Leon said, well, I've never done woodwinds. Leon had been doing Gary Lewis and the Playboys. He did 2 or 3 of them.
Another great band.
Yeah. And he said, I've never done anything with woodwinds, but let me take a shot at it. So he did. And I think it's a great arrangement. That's probably about 15 pieces on that one. God. Yeah. Yeah, so good. All of that stuff was at Western.
Jeez. Hey, now, when I was searching, for these songs to bring up,
Yeah.
I ran across people also search for Randy Newman. Was there some connection between Randy Newman and you guys?
The miss. I'm not sure what to call it. I have seen over the years Randy represented as being one of Harpers Bizarre. Randy was never one of Harpers Bizarre.
I don't remember that, and yet somehow I got that impression when I was at 3 in the morning when I was doing this searching.
Well, let me tell you the Randy story. When we first did Feeling Groovy, and the thing took off, Warner's said, we need an album like by next week. So that means you got to do 11 more songs in like 7 days.
How can anybody do that?
Lenny said, okay, I'm going to call an old friend of mine, a boyhood friend of mine. I think he's a great songwriter. I want you guys to meet him and have him come over to the office. And the Warner's office in those days was right next to the movie lot, the Warner Brothers movie lot in Burbank. Okay. Anyway, so Randy comes over. We had never met him before.
But you had heard of him.
We hadn't
heard of him.
Had not heard of him.
Because he hadn't done his biggest record was probably Short People, right?
Short People, that came many years later.
Okay.
Yeah, 6, 7, 8, 10 years later. So anyway, Randy came over to the office, sat down, and he started playing Simon Smith and the Amazing Dancing Bear, Debutante's Ball, Happy Land, and Ted and I, our jaws dropped because we thought, this guy's another Cole Porter. I mean, this is incredible writing.
Yeah.
Incredible lyrics and incredible writing, and Randy was also an arranger, and he was heavy into big arrangements. Here we go again, 30 pieces, 40 pieces.
Yeah.
And he was from the Newman family, who were the movie Lionel Newman and I can't remember the other Newman. These guys wrote a lot of the movie themes from the 30s and 40s. So they were Randy's uncles. So anyway, we told Randy, we'll take everything you've got, and within the next 3 or 4 days, Randy had cranked out major arrangements. We were in the studio, we knocked out the vocals, and the album got released.
Just to appease the Warner Brothers brass, right?
They wanted it right. Well, they were writing the crest of Feeling Groovy, so they wanted to get it out there, and the timing was really critical to get it done. So
okay, now, I don't mean to be beating a dead horse here, but the Feeling Groovy by Simon and Garfunkel came out after that, after your version?
Well, it did not come out as a single. It came out only on the Parsley Sage Rosemary and Thyme album. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So, okay, back up.
Yeah.
To you guys were in Santa Cruz High together?
We were
or Holy Cross? Or
no,
what?
I was in Holy Cross, and then Eddie James was Santa Cruz High.
Okay.
Ted was San Lorenzo.
Ted Templeman.
Yeah, Ted Templeman was San Lorenzo. And
how'd you guys meet?
Well, we had Dick Yount and I had started a little folk singing group called the Cabbage Patch Trio, which there was only 2 of us. I don't know why we called it a trio, but that's what we called it.
Right.
And we used to play at a club called the Hootenanny, which was directly across from Cabrillo College, which is now the Farm. The building that the farm is in.
All right.
Okay. That was called the Hootenanny at that time. So Dick and I, we met at the beach surfing, and we decided that we'd form a folk group because I was heavy into the Kingston Trio at the time.
Oh, wow.
So we learned all of the Kingston Trio songs and what have you. But we decided that we wanted to make a record, and Bob Mariolo, I don't know if you ever met.
I remember him. He was in my class. Yeah.
Was he?
I think so. Yeah, he's younger than you, right?
No, he's older than me.
Oh, different. Okay.
Yeah, it's a different guy. His dad was Sam Mariolo. He owned a shoe shop.
Sam's Shoe Hospital.
Sam's Shoe Hospital.
Right.
That's right. Yes. And so anyway, I didn't know it, but through the grapevine, I heard that Bob and his friend Jerry Sylvia had started a little recording studio on Pacific Avenue.
Wow.
Yeah, the two of them.
Jerry had the biggest microphone collection on planet Earth.
Really? Okay, maybe that's part. I didn't know that, but maybe that's why they.
When I was in college, I
bought
2 or 3 really vintage mics from him.
Really?
Yeah. He passed just a few years back, and he must have. I'd never seen a collection, a world-class collection.
Yeah.
You know, and I was trying to arrange for it to somehow land at KSCO here.
Right.
You know, I don't know that I could have afforded to buy it, but maybe partially or something. It would have been nice for our museum of broadcasting.
Yeah.
Anyhow, someone from another country in Europe bought it.
Really?
Bought the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Jerry
yeah.
Sylvia, wow.
Jerry, yeah. So Bob and Jerry had started this little recording studio up on the second floor, up above one of the drugstores on Pacific Avenue.
Melvin's?
No, it was down the
Mock.
street. Mock's. It was
Yeah.
probably Mock's Drugs.
Okay.
And so we went up there, and that was back in the days when they did not have multi-track recording. So in other words, you could not, if you made a mistake laying down your vocals or instruments, you had to do them all together at one time. You couldn't do instruments and then go back and lay down voice. Everything had to be, it was a live recording, basically.
Wow.
And if you made a mistake, you couldn't do what they later called punching in, which was where you made the mistake, you would stop and punch in at that point. Couldn't do that either. If you made a mistake, you had to go all the way back to the beginning and start recording all over again.
So I bet there was a lot more studio time back in those days.
Yeah, and
to record, to get a finished recording, right?
Yeah, so, and we had found a song called Streamline Cannonball, which was a Roy Acuff tune. Roy Acuff was an old country guy, and we went in there and recorded that and ended up hiring a guy out of San Francisco who was a record promo guy to go pitch the record to stations around California, which he did, but he had no luck in getting any airplay. But what he did was he got us on a show at the Stockton Civic Auditorium, and here we are, we're folk singers. This was a rock and roll show, and we were the only folk singers on this rock and roll.
You and Dick.
Yeah, Dick and I. And so it was Clyde McFadder, if you remember that name, Jimmy Gilmer and the Fireballs.
Wow, yeah.
Who had
Sugar Shack, yeah.
Sugar Shack. Timmy Euro.
The Make the World Go Away.
No, it's another one where she cries through the middle of the song, and I can't remember what the song was. Anyway, and us, right? Well, at that show, there was a record promo guy from Mercury Records who talked to us backstage, and he said that Mercury had just signed a group from Great Britain, and they had paid them $20,000 to sign, which at that time might as well have been $20 million. It was an outrageous amount of money. Wow. And he said that they were going to be releasing their record. It turned out that Mercury didn't really have them, but it was the Beatles, and I Want to Hold Your Hand came out probably 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And at that...
My copy of I Want to Hold Your Hand was on the Mercury label. I remember
Was it on Mercury?
Yes.
Oh, hell, I didn't know that. Okay, so he wasn't BSing me.
No, it was.
So, okay, yeah. So anyway, that came out. Folk music fell off a cliff. It came to a grinding halt, and life as we knew it in the music business completely changed once the Beatles hit the airwaves. So we said we have to become a rock and roll band. But we needed a drummer and we needed another guitar player. So I had heard about a guy by the name of Ted Templeman who lived up in the Felton area, and we asked him to come down to Dick Yount's house. He did. He brought his drums and he played, and we loved it. Sounded just fine. We said, "You want to join?" He said, "Yeah." And then we said, "All right, we got to find a guitar player." We had heard about a kid that was a surfer in Santa Cruz by the name of Adrian Jones. Did you ever know Joanne Jones, his sister? Okay. Who was I talking to? Who's the guy that does the skateboard? Rich Novak was telling me about Joanne. He knew who Joanne was. But anyway, so we called Adrian to come up to my place, and he did, and he brought a young friend with him, and he brought his classical guitar with him. So Dick and I said, well, can you play some, rock and roll stuff? And he said, well, I really prefer to play classical music on my guitar. So we said, okay, go ahead.
Wow.
Anyway, so he starts playing.
One of a kind person.
Yeah, flamenco music. Yeah. And he was playing, and we thought, sounds great. Obviously would not work in a rock and roll band, but sounded great. So Dick and I said, give us a minute. Let us go out of the room here for a minute, and we'll figure out what we want to do. So we went out of the room. Well, I happened to have an electric guitar in the room. And as Dick and I are out outside of the room trying to figure out how do we tell Adrian that we can't use him because it's not rock and roll. We start hearing rock and roll guitar being played from in the room. So we think, well, maybe he relented and now he's playing. So we go back in, and it's not Adrian that's playing the guitar.
Oh, no.
It's his young friend, Eddie James, who is noodling away with these rock sounds on the guitar. We thanked both of them for coming over, told them we would call them down the road. They left, and we scrambled to find out what was Eddie James's phone number. We found it, called Ed, and said, do you want to be in the group? And that was the beginning of the Tikis.
And where did the name come from?
I don't remember. Actually, it turned out that there was another group called the Tikis back in Nashville. We didn't know that at the time, but we got a letter from their attorney saying you have to stop using the Tikis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what happened.
Yeah.
I always wondered.
And so we changed it to the other Tikis.
Is that right? I didn't even know that.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see. And the big hit was Bye Bye Bye, right?
Yeah,
From
that
the
was
Tikis?
the one that probably got more activity than any of the other Tiki songs. We recorded all that stuff up in San Francisco. And
just for those of you, we gotta have to punctuate the show with a little music here. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute, this isn't right. It's a creature feature. It says the Tikis. The Tikis Bye Bye Bye.
Yeah, that's it.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. I never heard this beginning.
Don't place your trust in me. Don't act too foolishly. Before long, I'll be gone. You'll understand.
I've never heard this version. But who's that singing?
Me.
No matter what you do, don't fall because I'm new. There's no doubt you'll find out just how I am. Bye bye bye, yeah. Bye bye bye, you don't need me at all. Before long, I'll be gone, and then you'll know. One day you'll know it's true. I'm not the one for you. Don't cry now. I know how you feel today. Try not to feel so bad. I know I made you sad. So don't cry. You'll see why I had to say. Bye bye bye, yeah. Bye bye bye, you don't need me at all. Before long, I'll be gone, and then you'll know. Don't place your trust in me. Don't act too foolishly. Before long, I'll be gone. You'll understand. Bye bye bye,
It's way clearer than the version that I'm used to hearing on the
Okay.
radio.
Yeah.
So why do they have different versions
Well,
like that?
I think we recorded 3 different versions of it. We were signed to Autumn Records in San Francisco at the time, which had their first hit with a group called the Beau Brummels, Laugh, Laugh, if you remember the song Laugh.
Yeah, Laugh, Laugh.
Yeah. And so Bye 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 sounds a little bit like Laugh, Laugh, because we were kind of patterning ourselves.
Now that you're saying,
Yeah, it has kind of that guitar
I'll play
feel
just
about
it came up on YouTube right afterwards. The
okay.
version that I'm used to here.
Yeah.
See, this is what everybody's heard. I
Okay.
never heard that version. That's why I thought it was wrong. I thought it was something else. See, this isn't as clear, but it's really good.
Yeah.
And you're doing the lead here too, obviously.
Don't place your trust in me. Don't act too foolishly.
It's like the tempo is half again, right?
It is.
Comes up and in the next stanza or chorus or whatever, someone goes, "Oh,
yeah,
ow!" Who was that? Is that you?
I don't remember.
Oh, come on!
But I remember doing that, but I don't remember. But you know what's interesting?
What?
The difference you're hearing is this was a little farther down the timeline in the recording, and we were getting more into the sound of instruments, and a lot of artists ran into this and didn't realize it. What happens is you get so taken in the mix with the various instruments that you start to lose the vocal level. So what you're hearing is our voices here are farther back into the track.
That's right.
Yeah, because we're concentrating on the guitars, drums, and bass and all the rest of it.
see.
That happens automatically, and it happened to everybody.
That was it. Oh,
yeah.
Heard that, yeah. All right,
So-
yeah, I always wondered who did.
Yeah.
Oh!
Yeah. And that was, I'm trying to think, that was probably at Coast Recorders in San Francisco as well as the first one was. But at this time, Ted was playing the drums. This was when he was back.
And it shows the record label, and it says The Other Tikis, which you said.
Yes.
I didn't know there was such thing as The Other Tikis until...
Right.
See, we're learning all kinds of stuff on the Saturday Special, gang.
Yeah.
With Dick Scoppettone. Oh, my God. So much fun. Much fun.
Just a quick footnote on Ted. Ted and I initially weren't singing together. With Harpers Bizarre, it was only Ted and I singing in exactly the same thing and doubling and tripling it. But with the Tikis, initially it was probably more my voice and then Ted singing on some of the parts. But then we decided, because his voice was good, that let's bring him up front and put him up front on the stage, get somebody else to play the drums, and we did. And we got John Peterson from the Beau Brummels to play the drums at that point. So, yeah.
And let's see, Ted went on to become a record producer.
Oh, yeah.
I think for Warner Brothers, yeah?
Yeah, for Warner's, and had so many hits, it's almost crazy now.
Wow.
But he did all of the Doobie Brothers and all of Van Halen, and he did some Linda Ronstadt. He did. The list is a mile long, and I think somebody is writing a bio on him that will be coming out as a book, I think, sometime.
Are you in touch with him?
I only talk to Ted probably once or twice a year, and I think
He still lives in the southern...
yeah, still down in Southern California. So we talk.
I remember, I never met him, but I remember seeing him driving a Rolls Royce down King Street,
right?
Back in the Harpers Bizarre days.
Yeah, that would have been Ted. He and I both were into cars. He had a Ferrari and I had a Maserati, and we would take it up into, if you know where Alba Road is.
Sure.
That was our racing road, which
Oh,
I
my
think about
God.
it now, that was insane. We
It's a good way to get
ourselves.
killed, right?
But we would go racing our sports cars in the mountains. So,
oh, wow.
yeah.
Well, there's no end to what we could talk about music. I mean, I could talk to you forever about this, and we can talk more about it. But the main purpose of this show, besides interviewing you, you've done plenty of shows on KSCO, but I don't think anybody's ever interviewed you. So it was high time, I thought.
Oh, okay. Good idea. Yeah.
But you and I are both on the board of directors, along with some other friends, old-timers from Santa Cruz, on the board of directors of a group called the Oldtimers of Santa Cruz.
Right. Yeah.
And to be in the Oldtimers, there's no dues. All we have is one luncheon usually the third week in February, I think.
Right, that's right.
On a Sunday at the Portuguese Hall near KSCO, near Harvey West Park. And it's one of my favorite events, of the whole year, because there's so much camaraderie and, it's just a blast. And we always have a theme every year. And you and I are both on the board of directors for this, and you didn't participate. We sort of, you had to go out of the room or something when we decided that at least Old Timer of the Year was going to be you,
Yeah.
right? Because he didn't vote on himself. He would never do that. But but it's high time that we talked about music in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And that's the theme of this year. And I can't think of a better person to be Old Timer of the Year than you, Dick.
Well, that's great. Thank you. I never envisioned myself at, 74. I beat you by 4 years. Did you just turn 70?
No, I just turned 68.
68?
Yeah.
Okay, so I beat
so
you by
even
6
more,
years.
yeah.
Yeah. But who would have thought back in the day that we'd be here talking about this?
I
now?
know.
So, yeah, pretty amazing. So one of the things that we're kind of looking at, and you and I have both talked about this on the board, is trying to bring in young people. And so this show that we're starting tomorrow from 2 to 4.
Yeah, right here on KSCO.
Yeah, called the Oldtimers Show. We are going to have our first intern, a kid by the name of Sid Freeland, who is going to be starting to work with us on the production of the show. And we're kind of hoping that through the 8 shows that we do, that we will bring in maybe 4 or 5 different young people, interns. So that's one of the first words we want to put out to the listening audience.
Calling all young people who happen to be listening by mistake. No, they're older people who are related to the younger people.
Right.
Who might, an exclamation point might go up over their head like in a comic book.
Right,
or something.
exactly, yeah.
We're definitely, and I think that was a great idea that you had to involve younger people.
Yeah, well, and the part of the plan is for all you folks who have kids, nieces, and nephews or whatever in high school or college that think that you would like to see them or they would like to get into broadcasting. This is an opportunity as a production assistant. So have them call Rosie here at the station, all right? 475-1080. And just ask for Rosie. She'll keep a list of all the people that call in with names for suggestions for their interns to be production assistants.
Right. So besides that, are we looking for topics and guests also, or is that roster filled up at least for the 8?
No, it's not totally filled up yet, but it's filling fast. But themes, ideas for what each show should talk. The premise of the Oldtimers Show is the 50s, 60s, and 70s in Santa Cruz. That's what we're talking about. Memories of that time frame. But in putting the shows together, we want to have different representations of people who can talk about not only the history of Santa Cruz in that time frame. We could talk about surfing. We can talk about cars. We can talk about cruising Beach Street. Our premier show tomorrow has our premier guy, Ted Whiting, who's with the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. He's been on with me before, and he's got stories that'll just blow you away about the boardwalk. Incredible stories about the boardwalk. So, and he's with us tomorrow, along with Jay Topping, who is we call him our man in Scotts Valley. He's a history guy, and he knows everything.
Boy, is he ever.
Yeah. So
and he's
tomorrow,
got a collection of classic local signs that won't quit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unbelievable.
So between Ted and Jay tomorrow, that's our premiere show, and I think we're going to have a good time with it.
Great.
Yeah.
So we'll open the phone line. There were some callers already, but we didn't want to open the phone line.
Okay.
But we will open it now. If anybody wants to call in and talk, if you want to ask Dick Scoppettone, or me, because we're both native Santa Cruzans.
Right.
Something about the history of Santa Cruz, or suggest a topic, or whatever. We'd love to hear from you. We like to do one of these programs on the Saturday special every year, in a few weeks before the Oldtimers Luncheon.
Yeah.
Which, what is
February
what is
23rd. Sunday,
23rd. Okay.
February 23rd.
Right. And the only people who are allowed to come
Right.
Must have been a resident of Santa Cruz for 20 years or more. Is that the rule?
Well, that's kind of the plan, and that's been in effect for years, but we'll take anybody.
Oh,
So,
see?
yeah.
See? Isn't that nice? You heard it from the horse's mouth here.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So, So it looks like we do have one call. That would be our good buddy Nick in Royal Oaks. Nick, welcome to the Saturday special with Dick Scoppettone and poor old MZ.
Thanks. Happy New Year.
Ditto.
I wanted to ask you about Gary Bascom, but I bring up that song that you played. It reminds me of that song that goes, "Oh, let tomorrow be." You know that one? All summer long we spent in the...
Is it a Beach Boys song?
No.
All summer long?
No. I think it's probably maybe early 70s, late 60s.
Huh.
She wants to live in the Rockies. Let tomorrow be. You don't remember that, huh?
No, it's not ringing a bell.
Actually,
Yeah.
Nor do I.
Gary Bascom, did you know him? I heard he was in a rock band.
I know the name. I don't know if I ever met him, but I know the name, Gary. I think he might have been an organ player.
Oh, there's a road over there. I used to see him a lot at the store at Staples, and I just don't have the chance to find out if he's even named after. His family's named after the road, Bascom Avenue.
Bascom Avenue. I don't know. Good question. That's a new one on me. One thing I have to tell you about me is that I am not a I don't want to say history buff. That's why we are having history people on the show. So for anybody that's got specific questions about history in Santa Cruz, I have all kinds of memories, as does MZ. I mean, we remember everything about what went on back in the day. But to get specifics about, for example, like that Bascom Avenue, that's not something
I was going to
would know.
ask. Yeah. Is there a connection?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'm going to free the line. It's nice to hear you guys.
Thank you so much, Nick in Royal Oaks. So let's see. We can take Suzanne from Highway 1. We can't do that. We can take a cold call. Who is this?
Hi, this is Mark. I have a response to that caller trying to remember the name of that song.
Oh.
It's by Johnny Winters. I'm sorry, Johnny Rivers. Johnny
Rivers. Oh.
Yeah. It's a cool song.
Well, he's still going strong, I think, right?
Yeah, I think he's still working.
Yeah.
I'll be
He was
darned.
a hell of a voice and singer.
Great.
So,
all right. Hey, thank you. Yeah, I'll bet we got a lot of people with a lot of answers listening. I would like to-
absolutely.
Yeah. What's your name?
My name is Mark.
Hey, Mark.
This is probably one of the best Saturday specials I've ever heard.
Say it again.
One of the best Saturday specials I've ever heard.
Oh, say it again. I like hearing him.
Right. Keep saying it.
Saying it for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
We don't get too many compliments around here. Hey, appreciate it,
You know
Mark.
why? Because it's full of talent.
Okay. Yeah, we're very proud of our station, for sure.
Absolutely. Anyhow, thanks. I'll be listening.
Thank you. Appreciate it. 479-1080 is the phone number to call if you want to be on the show with Dick and me. And Josh Stevens and his orchestra will answer the phone, and you can get to talk to him. But Suzanne on Highway 1 wants to talk about an old restaurant, right, Suzanne?
Yeah. Hi. So when I was in grade school and high school, my parents used to drag us over here for vacations. You know, it would be the 2-week-long beach vacation. I loved it. And one of my favorite restaurants when we'd come over was called Slightly Kosher Irving's. But nobody I know, when I ask about it, they're just like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Including me and including Dick.
Where was it? Do you remember?
So I think it was where the crepe place is now.
On Soquel Avenue.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, it's not. It was called Slightly Kosher.
Slightly Kosher Irving's. They also called it the Thunder Mug Trading Company.
Oh, I remember that.
You do remember?
I remember Thunder Mug. Yeah. I don't think I ever ate there, but yeah.
Either of them.
Yeah. So on Soquel Avenue. Yeah. Okay.
It is where the crepe place used to be then.
Or is now, because the crepe place is there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crepe place is now. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, what do you remember masticating there?
Oh my gosh, they had absolutely the best Monte Cristo sandwich in the entire world.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
love
the
them.
sandwich that nobody should eat because it's a cholesterol calorie bomb. But man,
Does
that thing
anybody have any idea what the recipe for that calorie bomb was? Because a Monte
No
Cristo
idea.
sandwich, I'm not even sure I know what the ingredients are. I know
Well,
what
it's
a
got-
Reuben is, but
Ham
Well,
and
it's
cheese.
a ham sandwich that's been battered and deep fried and with powdered sugar and jam.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. Delicious. Yeah.
Delicious. It was.
yeah. Well, thank you for bringing that up, and there might be some other people who remember. Old-time restaurants. What are some of the most memorable? Spivey's,
Oh, of
Five
course.
Spot,
Five Spot,
right
yeah,
on
absolutely, yeah.
Ocean and Water.
Harry's Surf Rider, of course. And you remember Sis's, which I think it was also called the longest dog in town.
No! How did I miss
right. She was
that?
right at the head of the wharf. You know where the Ideal is.
Sure,
now. Yeah.
where they still are there.
They're
And,
still
and
there.
there was Olivard's right
Olivard's
on the
across
opposite,
side at the beginning of the wharf.
And the
yeah.
Ideal Fish Restaurant was right on the behind Olivard's on the same on
Yes.
that same side of the wharf, which is the opposite side of where it is now.
Yes, that's right.
Do they still have lobster for locals on Wednesday? I think they
I
do.
don't know. I haven't
think
been
they
down
do.
there in a while.
If you're not a local, you're not allowed to have. It's illegal for you to eat lobster on Wednesday at the
Yeah.
Ideal if they still have it. We're talking with Dick Scoppettone, who is going to be hosting starting tomorrow, the first of 8 programs on KSCO focusing on history of the Santa Cruz area. And we would love to entertain your calls here on the Saturday special. The phone number is 479-1080. The area code is 831 in case you're outside that area code. You can email mz@ksco.com, and I will read your email if you so desire. Don't send me an email that you don't want read.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Andy C. from Santa Cruz. Dick knows Andy C.'s sister.
Oh, yeah. Andy Carcello? Is this Andy Carcello?
Yeah, it sure is, Dick. Yeah, I mean, I know you from before, and of course my family has all kinds of history here.
Yeah.
But, the thing that really got me listening to you is I remember the Tiki's and then Harpers Bizarre and what went on there. And, my sister said when you did the 59th Street Bridge song that they ruined the Tiki's.
Yeah.
But I listened to you, and, it really did provide, I guess, a path of success for you. I mean, it seems like you benefited from becoming Harpers Bizarre.
We did, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you got to be a much bigger group, I think, right? Than
Than the Tiki's
ever
were. Andy,
Yeah, but-
was Fred your grandfather?
No, Fred was my dad.
Fred was your
we had
dad?
Mission Pharmacy. Yeah, we had Mission Pharmacy.
Oh, of course.
My
We went there all the time.
grandfather had 700 acres up the coast. My great grandfather's P.O. Scaroni. So
Okay.
It was a joke in the family if it was named Scaroni Road was named after P.O. or Katie Scaroni that was at the bottom of the hill there with the brothers. But yeah, I mean, geez, I've been interviewed by Marla Nova, historian of the McPherson Center, and Judy Warner, historian for the Women's Democratic Club of Santa Cruz. My grandmother was the founding president of it.
Wow.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have all this history. So, yeah, I mean, the Santa Cruz Duck Club was founded by my grandfather and a guy named Henry Hamilton. They used to fly into the landing field by natural bridges. Picked my grandfather up, who was a civil engineer, and they'd fly down to Los Banos. And he laid out 1,000 acres of the Santa Cruz Duck Club down there.
Wow. Yeah, that's
I
amazing.
remember Josephine Marini with a string of bloody ducks over her shoulder, a cigar in her mouth, and a shotgun in hand, cussing. And the funny thing was, Joe, her husband, was the quiet one.
Oh,
Josephine was always...
Yeah, everybody remembers Josephine. Yeah, that's Joey's mother. Joe and Carol. Yeah, that's Joey's mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she was classic Italian, you know.
Yeah, she was.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
those people. You know, that's a damn thing. All these people really had character. They were really down-to-earth people.
Yep.
You know, and Santa Cruz, to me, has kind of forgotten about that. You know,
Yeah, it's changed significantly, of course, as one would expect over the years. I mean, that was 50 or 60 years ago that we all remember growing up. But I'm trying to remember, and did your sister date Dick Yount?
No, she was in a group called the Lavender Blues.
Yes, that's where I... Okay.
Dick managed her. She used to sing with Denise Perotti and Mary Alsop.
Okay.
Mary Cameron was a drummer for a while. So was the Williams kid.
Yes, yeah, Mike Williams, sure, of course.
Mike Williams.
Yeah.
But they used to play every week down at the Coconut Grove.
Okay.
It was a big thing you know, back then. And they all used to dress alike, and all their equipment had to be blocks, you know.
Yeah,
and
sure.
My sister bought that 12-string Rickenbacker from Ted Templeman.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I remember. That was a big Beatles deal, the 12-string Rickenbacker. Yeah. Great sound. So, all right, good.
Hey, thanks for calling in, Andy.
Hey, this is good. This is a lot of fun, man. I enjoyed it.
Tune in to get in the habit of tuning in. Actually, you don't have to, but if you want to participate live, you will have to the Oldtimers show that debuts here, world premieres here on KSCO tomorrow at 2 p.m. until 4 p.m. and the following 7 Sundays at least.
Yeah.
Leading right up to our 2020 Oldtimers luncheon on the 23rd, I think you said, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Take care, Andy. And here's Steve in Capitola. Hey, Steve. Welcome to KSCO.
Hey, I just, first of all, want to thank Dick for great music. Dick, I grew up in North County, San Diego High School. I went to high school down there, and even down there, the sound that you were generating back then, feeling groovy, you know, Harpers Bizarre, it was just universal. It was just great fun music. It takes me right back. And, you know, like you were saying, the Kingston Trio and the Brothers Four and all those great, I loved that sound in the early to mid 60s. My dad would bring those albums home and play them, and I just loved that sound.
Yeah.
And as soon as the British invasion hit, all that stuff kind of disappeared.
Yeah, totally disappeared. Yeah.
With Dick Dale.
Yeah.
I also wanted to add.
Did you ever see Dick Dale at Newport?
I've seen Dick Dale 6 times.
Really?
King of the surf sound, right? Yeah, surf guitar, I think, right?
I saw him at the Catalyst. I saw him at Moe's Alley. I saw him on Santa Monica Pier. I saw him at Sweetwaters in Mill Valley. I wanted to say a quick thing about MZ. MZ's signature piece has got to be the Cat Stevens song. That is his greatest piece.
Wow.
That's his greatest hit.
You're talking about Father and Son.
Yeah.
It
was Monster Mash before that, but then I heard that last week.
Monster Mash is okay. George Norrie's producer, Tom Danheiser, called me up and he wanted me to be on Ghost to Ghost on Halloween night, a few years back, and he wanted me to do my impression of Bobby Boris Pickett, Monster Mash, which isn't bad, but there's no melody in it.
Right, that's right. It's just talking.
It's just a talking song.
Right.
Hey, can I say one quick thing about that deli that woman called in about?
Yeah.
I think it was called the Thunder Trading Deli or some crazy thing. It was where the crepe place is now. They took it over
along at the limit. It's currently 50 degrees outside KSCO. We've got a high surf advisory now until 3 p.m. Today we can expect 57 to be as warm as it gets. Tonight, we're going to be seeing temperatures dropping down to the upper 30s and possibly some patchy fog overnight. Your KSCO News Talk time, 11:06. Time now for more Saturday Special, hour number 2, right here on your favorite radio station, AM 1080 KSCO.
I find the weather report disturbing.
What disturbs you with that report?
I'm trying to use my Darth Vader voice, from the original Star Wars. I'm not very good at it because I just don't have the timbre or whatever. No. What he said was, he lifted the guy up in the thing. He just pulled him off the ground. He says, "I find your lack of faith disturbing." Dave Michaels.
Good morning, MZ.
Do you have a beginning of hour 2 update from the Dave Cave?
I do, as a matter of fact, MZ. I wanted to let people know about some other products that we carry. One is Synaptive, 2 is Occutive, and I want to remind people that they can also order Hemp FX. These are your CBD oils through us. They can call me at 218-5726. That's 218-KSCO. Super easy to remember.
And that does not connect to your secretary. It connects to you directly.
It connects to my voicemail, and then I will call you back.
Oh, and the Synaptive is for your brain.
Yeah, Synaptive, MZ, is for better brain function, for better focus, and for better memory. That's Synaptive, okay? If you're looking for better brain function, better focus, and better memory, Synaptive is what you're looking for. Occutive, this is for eye health.
For your eyeballs.
This is for your eyeballs. This prevents discomfort in your eyes and further damage from oxidants. So this is an antioxidant. This prevents further damage to your eyes, and it is for better eye health. And Hemp FX MZ, again, is good for relieving aches and pains with CBD oils. I don't want you to go to some pot shop. I don't want you to go around a bunch of people who are stoned out of their head.
You don't want
CBD oils,
stoners, yeah.
Right, and they won't get you high.
Stoners will have a bad influence on you.
Nothing wrong with stoners.
They might make you unproductive.
There's nothing wrong with people who smoke pot.
No, but they might rub off on you.
Well, they might. They might rub off on you, and maybe you just don't want to be around there. Maybe you don't have a car, right? We can have it shipped to your door. These are quality screened CBD oils. You don't have to go and hang out with unsavory people. We can have it delivered to your door. And how does that sound?
Where can we find you, Dave?
You can find me here at the Dave Cave. I'll be out here from 10 till 2. Every Saturday I'm out here from 10 to 2. And if you can't make it out, again, just call me, 831-218-KSCO, and we'll get you taken care of. All right?
I like your word, unsavory people. Has any unsavory person ever shown up at the Dave Cave?
All the time. All the time. I don't care about your savoriness. At the Dave Cave, it doesn't matter, man. We're all the same. We're all good.
Let's see. We were talking about Randy Newman earlier today. Did you hear that part?
I missed it.
Okay. Randy Newman did his biggest hit of all time is Short People Got No Reason. Short People Got No Reason. Oh, where we go? No reason to live.
Yeah. I think, what blew me away about that? So Randy and as I mentioned, our producer, Lenny Warnaker, were good friends growing up. And Lenny managed to keep Randy signed to Warner Brothers after Warner's wanted to drop him.
Because of that offensive...
No, because of that. This is before Short People.
Oh,
Randy had released, I want to say he had released 3 albums and could not connect. And Warner's, I think, finally said, this guy's not making us any money. We got to get rid of him. And Lenny kept talking Warner Brothers into keep him on. And then finally he had Short People, and bingo, that was a hit. So, but what's interesting is when you look at the caliber of his songwriting, and as I mentioned before, he almost was another Cole Porter, his songs are so incredible. And what does he connect with after 3 albums and probably 4 years? A crazy little song called Short People, which is not evidence of his greatness as a songwriter at all, but that's showbiz.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I want to skip the ad. I thought I pay Google like $13 a month to not have to listen to ads.
Yeah.
And I'm logged in as me, and they're cheating me.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Maybe they're making me pay. Maybe you have to pay twice as much now. I haven't seen it. Anyhow, here's Randy Newman, and he's going to do his thing here, because while we're talking about it, and I heard that it offended a lot of people back then.
Really?
But didn't you hear that?
No.
Because you listen to the lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, come on. We don't need to hear these outtakes. But it is sort of interesting, though, huh?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Short people got no reason. Short people got no reason. Short people got no reason to live.
What a horrible thing to sing.
They got little hands, little eyes. They walk around telling great big lies. They got little nose, tiny little teeth. They wear platform shoes on the nasty little feet. Don't want no short people. Don't want no short people. Don't want no short people around here. Short people are just the same as you and I.
See, now this redeemed himself.
Wonderful world. All men are brothers until the day they die.
See, this is good. Now it gets bad again.
Short people got nobody. Short people got nobody. Short people got nobody to love.
Well, that's okay. Not really, though. That's all
The
right.
baby legs that stand so low. You got to pick them up just to say hello. They got little cars that go beep, beep, beep. They got little voices going peep, peep, peep. They got grab a little finger, dirty little minds. They're gonna get you every time. Well, I don't want no short people. Don't want no short people. Don't want no short people around here.
I got a Randy Newman story for you.
Oh, good. Here.
And I have to say, I've never confirmed it with Randy, but I think it's true. And I heard this years ago. After Randy had done a couple of our albums, he started getting calls from a lot of people who wanted him to do arrangements for them. And I think he probably did a few for a while, but he was really interested in his own career and promoting himself as the great songwriter that he was at the time. So he finally decided that he was not going to do any more arrangements for anyone. He was going to strictly work on his own stuff, right?
Okay.
So in the middle of all that, he gets a call from Lieber and Stoller. If you remember Lieber and Stoller from the East Coast, they had all of the great hit songs back in the day. I don't know how many songs they had, but these guys were monster songwriters in New York. And I'm trying to think of some of the groups that they did, but these were late 50s, early 60s Lieber and Stoller songs. Anyway, they were at the time at the top of their game. And they called Randy telling him that they had a song that they wrote that they thought would be perfect for him. And would he be interested in coming back to New York to record the song?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, I would be. He said, of course, you'll have to do the arrangement on it. And we know you don't do arrangements anymore. But he said, that's fine. So anyway, he goes back to New York, records the song, gets his voice on it. And anybody that's listened to Randy knows that he is probably the worst singing voice in the world. And he finishes this song, comes back home to L.A., and he doesn't hear anything from Lieber and Stoller for like a couple of months. And one day he's driving down the road, and the song comes on the radio.
Wow.
Only he's not singing it.
No, someone else?
It's his arrangement of Peggy Lee.
So that's how they tricked him?
Yeah. Peggy Lee.
They tricked him into doing an arrangement.
Doing Is That All There Is. You remember the song,
yeah,
Is
of
That
course.
All There Is? Is That All There Is? Yeah. And so anyway, that finally so Randy said at that point, that's it. I'm not doing any more arrangements for anyone.
Wow,
So,
what a great story.
yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You're listening to hour number 2 of the KSCO Saturday Special. And special it is because our guest today is Dick Scoppettone, formerly of the Tikis, formerly of the Harpers Bizarre. These are very famous singing groups. And we are also promoting a program that Dick will world premiere tomorrow on KSCO, called Santa Cruz Oldtimers, from 2 to 4 p.m. And it's going to feature just what you would think it would. So we're promoting that right now. If you want to call us, it's 479-1080. That's in area 831. If you want to email us, it's mz@ksco.com. Lowell has called in, but I realized that we have a regular, we need to get our report from Jaunty. Jaunty! Hi, Jaunty!
Hey, MZ.
How are you feeling today? Be honest.
I should be prepared for that question because you always ask it, and you always catch me slightly off guard. And I think, how am I really feeling? I want to answer honestly.
I believe in extending courtesies and respect to everybody, and I'm truly interested in how everybody I speak to is feeling.
Well, you know, I was just sort of sitting here listening to that song about short people, and I had a moment where I thought, gosh, you know, maybe we should just sort of get rid of all the short people. But then I had this memory after that. When I was about, I'm going to say 19 or 20, my friends and I had a habit of driving up to Stanford University and sneaking into their frat parties when there was nothing else to do on the weekend. And this one time we snuck into what must have been some kind of, it must have been a basketball fraternity getting together with like a ladies volleyball fraternity or something like that. I'm about 6'1". I mean, I don't think of myself as short.
No,
but I was one of the shortest.
Not at all.
I was one of the 3 shortest people there, and there were probably about 100 people there.
Oh my God!
And that's including the women. Like the women were multiple inches taller than me. The only other person at in the range of my height there was this really short girl. I mean, she was like really short. She was up to most people's waist. And I sort of tried to talk to her, but she wasn't interested in talking to me. But it really kind of changed my perspective on being tall or being short. You know, if you go to the right crowd, you might find yourself in a different category than you usually think of yourself.
I read something about the short. There's some radio station or some radio company that banned the play of that song. Yeah, and they were ordered that they couldn't do that because it would impinge on free speech. You know? Yeah, because, boy, I wonder if that song would be allowed to be played today because of all the political correctness.
Probably not.
Yeah. Well, I just played it.
Yeah.
Am I going to be in trouble? God, I don't know. So, Jaunty, you're our director of digital media at ZBS and at KSCO and KOMY. What's your report for today? What do you want to make all the people aware of that we're not very good at least previous to now?
Anyone who is interested, anyone who has an Android phone, just stop what you think you're doing right now and go to KSCO.com and download the latest version of the KSCO app. We fixed a bunch of things on there. It looks a little nicer. And the iOS is coming real soon. It's not quite there yet. Sorry, folks using iPhones. That'll be real soon here. But
is that because Apple takes longer to approve changes?
That's part of it. Yeah, that would be an aspect.
Yeah.
Regardless, the Android's good to go. Go and check it out.
Because Nishit has done a really good job, right?
I sometimes think the only reason that you are having me on the Saturday special is so that you can say his name.
Right. No. I do get tickled by his name, and that's the real name of the guy who does our apps in India. You know, right? How do you say? Is it Nishit? Is that how you spell his name?
Yeah, I think that's how it's spelled. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what's the matter, Dick? Come on, Jaunty. There must be something more than we've got an updated Android app. You must have something else.
I don't always like showing all our cards to there's things that we're doing, but it's not necessarily for.
Oh, okay.
For the audience right now.
Well, that's a good answer.
As you know, there's been a lot of things that have been worked on of late, and
oh my God, how true that is.
We'll have some cool things going on, but it's not it's internal stuff from my perspective.
I was made to feel, not that I wasn't feeling good always, because I feel so good that we have our guest and our topic for today with Dick talking about the music. Who else can you have this kind of a conversation with? But one of the things that made me feel warm and fuzzier than I felt in a long time is when the caller last hour called and said he likes my Cat Stevens, and it made me conjure up in my brain a comparison between Cat Stevens and Dick Scoppettone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to say, right?
No, I don't.
Okay, Cat Stevens was very, very popular in the early 70s,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
And something happened to him toward the end of the 70s. He almost drowned or something off of Malibu, and he had a vision that he was going to change his life and become, a Muslim.
Yeah.
And now he's known as Yusuf Islam, and he's been known by that name for a long time. But he threw down his guitar. He didn't even pick up his guitar for 35 years or something. Literally. And his son, was playing a guitar, and he said, "Here, Dad, use it." And he did. And this was, I don't know how many, 4 or 5 years ago or something like that. Now he's come out of his not doing any music mode and is doing music again. I'm drawing a parallel because I know that you are a fine musician and a fine vocalist. And why did you stop doing it? And will you come out of it and start doing it again?
Well,
like Cat Stevens, even if you have to change your name.
Yeah. Well, and I remember, back in the day, Matthew and Son and T for the Tillerman, and those are the early Cat Stevens songs, and we pinned on those right away. The guy
did?
He was a great songwriter before anyone knew.
And
of
what a
him
voice!
Yeah, had a great voice, and of course he's written a zillion incredible songs. For me, one of the drawbacks I think of looking at pitching tunes is that it's an old business and it's a tough business, and trying to get people to record stuff that you write is as close to impossible as you can get.
No, just for fun.
Yeah.
No, not for business, but for fun.
Yeah,
I get so much joy. I feel, I've said this before on the radio, I feel like I've wasted my life. I've always appreciated music, but it's only lately that I shoot my mouth off and say, I want to learn how to play guitar. I want to learn how to play the keyboards.
Yeah, right.
But you don't have to learn to sing. I mean, if you take lessons, you'll get better faster if it's in the cards for you. But I love to sing.
Yeah.
And I sing to myself when I'm driving between here and San Francisco and back and forth. And I just enjoy it. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine why it wouldn't make you happy, whether or not you do it professionally or not.
I think my tendency has always been, even going all the way back to the Harpers days, is the amount of time that we spent in rehearsals each year. We would spend 1 month, one full month of 10 in the morning to 10 at night every day, 7 days a week, rehearsing a new show. And it was always in December that we would do that. That is so locked into my brain that it's
sort of
habitual.
took the joy out of it, maybe.
Yeah. So, for example, I used to, whenever I'd see John Denver, for example, and he could sit down with a guitar at the drop of a hat and start playing without even thinking about it. I can never do that. I can't do that now. I went over to Ed James, this is a while back, and somebody said, "You guys sing Feelin' Groovy." I can't do it. I can't do it. Now, if I'd had 4 hours to rehearse it, I could have done it. but it's habitually ingrained in me that if I don't rehearse it and get it exactly right, I can't do it.
It's like your radio shows.
Same thing.
They're scripted perfectly.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
This has got to be very unusual for you because it's totally off the cuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's not scripted.
That's right. That's true. What we're doing today.
I couldn't fathom of having a radio show scripted.
Yeah.
If I did it, I wouldn't stick to it.
Yeah.
Within 30 seconds it'd be. Anyhow, Jaunty, thank you for calling in, and you are a fine musician yourself, and I want to learn from you too. I want to learn from everybody.
Well, I don't know about the fine. I don't know about the fine part, but I certainly have a lot of fun. Just picking up an instrument.
I'm amazed at how many friends I have that I've had all my life that I had no idea played, an instrument.
Yeah.
Or sang, or even some of them even have a band that I didn't even know about, just for fun. So it's got to be. That's why I say I wasted my life, because I mean, if I'm lucky enough to live a few more years, maybe I will get involved in some sort of a music type fun thing, not professionally, but
just to do it for fun, and I think it's a wonderful idea. Absolutely,
it just
a wonderful idea.
Makes me feel good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially when I get a compliment. Instead of, I get more of the "don't quit your day job" type comments.
Oh, geez.
Forget
that.
But when someone says they like the Cat Stevens, I've been practicing that because my vocal range is apparently fairly identical to his.
Okay.
And that's amazing because I think it's one of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is great.
Anyhow, Jaunty, thank you. Let's go to our good friend Lowell. Hi, Lowell.
Hello, guys. Hey, talking about learning things, I learned some stuff quite a while back, quite related to your Short People song that you were playing there. We talked about people being 18, 19. Somebody talked about that a little bit ago. I can remember being probably 18 or 19, sitting in a courtroom with Judge James J.
Oh, yeah, Dick's dad.
Yeah, here it comes.
This gentleman walked in the room wearing these black robes, little short fella.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, that's kind of strange. That man got up there on that dais, or whatever you call the bench.
The bench,
there, and I was next in front of him. That man was 10 feet tall up on the bench.
Yeah, sure.
And
what did you do? Why were you in front of Judge Scoppettone, Lowell?
Well, you mentioned automobiles earlier. We used to play with various kinds of hot rods and what have you. And I had probably done something that wasn't exactly what the local gendarmes liked, so they had called me on it. So he put me up there on it, and here we were. Anyway, the gentleman gave me a very short lecture about whatever it was I had done, and then talked about what it could cost me for such things. And then he assigned, I think it was a 200-word essay that he wanted in there by the end of the week to atone for my sins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very, very nice. I think probably the Scoppettones in general are fairly short people.
Yeah, we are.
Known Jim for quite a while.
Oh, have you? Okay. Well, I wonder if Lowell, if you and I know
brother,
each other. Yeah. Jim is my older brother.
This is Lowell Webb.
Oh.
Yeah.
I know that name, Lowell. So you've been around Santa Cruz for a while.
Yeah, I went to school, graduated at Santa Cruz High in 1954.
Okay.
So I've been around a while.
You know Len Klempnauer then?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you for talking about my dad. He was 5'1", and so people used to see him. He would take his daily stroll down Pacific Avenue for exercise, and I talked to more than a few people who remember seeing the judge walking down Pacific Avenue for his daily luncheon stroll. He would go down to the Elks Club. If you remember, the Elks Club was up on the second floor. And I can remember as a kid going up there to see my dad, and they were all playing cards and smoking like crazy.
Of course.
So,
well, I can imagine him sitting at the bottom of the stairs on one of those Victorian homes that you folks lived in.
Yeah.
There in River Street.
Yeah.
Those stairs must have looked intimidating to a 5.1.
I'm sure they did. Yeah.
God.
Anyway, quite a gentleman, and I wanted to mention that.
Well, that's nice you called in. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Well, you folks take care.
There goes Low, and it opens up a line at 479-1080. 479-1080 and area code 831. Call that number. We'd love to hear from you if you want to contribute to the program. Andres sends an email to mz@ksco.com. The subject line says, "That song." That song is the most racist song against short people I've ever heard. It's hilarious. Is Dave Michaels okay? Anyhow, yeah. Yeah, Andres makes a good point. Short people is racist against short people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
And so, what other great? What are some of the other artists that you know or can have great stories about, or we should listen to some of their music? Because that's sort of fun to do.
Yeah, I think back, we could talk all about the Wrecking Crew, of course, which more and more people are hearing about now. There was a documentary that came out on the Wrecking Crew probably 4 years ago. The Wrecking Crew is not the actual formal name of a band, but it was a name that a group of musicians in Hollywood acquired after a while. This was probably 15, 16, 17 musicians that played on virtually every session and every hit record that came out of Hollywood. Most people might not know it, but most of the groups that you listen to singing hit songs from the 60s did not play their own instruments in the studio.
Okay, I wanted to get into that, so thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Why is that, and how is that?
Well, the cost of recording in those days was expensive, as it not anymore because you can record at home now. But to do a session, the union, the musicians union in Hollywood, was one of the toughest in the U.S., I think. A session was 3 hours. And if you went over, literally, if you went over 3 hours by 1 minute, you got charged for another 3-hour session. So the object was get in and get out as quickly as possible. When you had these session people, the Wrecking Crew, people like Hal Blaine, who was a drummer on every one of our recordings, on hundreds of recordings, and Hal was probably the classic drum piece going all the way back to the late 50s, and it still holds today. You remember the song "Be My Baby"?
Yeah.
Dum 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 boom dum 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 boom. That's Hal Blaine.
Be my baby.
Be my baby. Yeah, that's Hal Blaine. So Hal played on literally thousands of sessions. But on our sessions, Hal was the drummer on most of them. Glenn Campbell was the guitar player, and this was before Glenn had any hit records.
Really?
Yeah. He was on a lot of our sessions. As a matter of fact, somebody sent me a copy of the Musicians Union contract for a session that we did, and I don't remember the song that we're recording that's listed on this contract. I'll have to show it to you. But what's interesting is Russell Davis is listed on this contract as what is known as the contractor. A contractor in the music business is the guy that goes out and gathers up these musicians for a given session. He calls the musicians and said, "Can you be here tomorrow at 10 o'clock at Western Recorders on Sunset?" Right? This contract, Russell, I can't remember his last name. Anyway, he is on this contract that I have a copy of, but he changed his name to Leon Russell.
Whoa!
So there's a lot of people that we've kind of filtered through. Van Dyke Parks. I don't know if you remember Van Dyke, but Van Dyke worked a lot with Brian Wilson on California Girls and Heroes and Villains, and I think Van Dyke's probably been on TV on more than a few occasions. But most of the Carol Kay, who was the only woman that I ever saw in a Hollywood recording studio. If you can believe it, this is the 60s, all men and one woman, Carol Kay. She was a bass player, and she played on most all of our sessions as well. But these people could come in and you could give them what was known as a lead sheet. You didn't have to give them a full-blown score with all the parts and notes written out. You can give them a lead sheet which simply listed the chord names, that's all, and say, take it away, play it as you feel it. And they would do that. So Carol Kay talks about when she did a song, someone said, Carol, why don't you open this song, play some bass notes? And so she said, all right, let me try it. Dum, 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 dum,
That's the Sonny and Cher. You know, the beat goes on. Yeah.
Came right out of the top of her head, right? And so that was the quality and the caliber of musicians. But when I look at costs for the Harpers albums, because we used so many big orchestras, a typical cost for a Harpers album was around $50,000 recording studio costs, which in those days was a lot of money. And that was using people that could come in one take lay the entire track down. They don't have to
That's
recut
amazing
it.
that there were such people and are such people that can do that.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not ever having worked with the other musicians.
Well,
right?
in this case, they had worked with each other for quite a few years. Who was the crazy guy? Oh, hell, I can't think of his name now. She's in prison. Can't think of his. I'll think of it in a minute.
Crazy guy in prison.
Yeah, he had the Wall of Sound. Phil Spector. So
of course.
Spector used the Wrecking Crew on almost everything. So these people worked together an awful lot, but they were all incredible players. Tommy Tedesco. If you could see the documentary called The Wrecking Crew, you would recognize Tommy Tedesco's guitar playing over and above anyone else because he had extremely fast hands. His fingers would just slide over the guitar that no one else could do what Tommy did.
Eric Clapton-esque almost?
No, this is almost different, closer.
In terms of speed?
In terms of speed. Yeah, and Tommy passed away, and Tommy's son decided to do this documentary. Turned out that because there's so much music in it, it took him probably close to 5 years to get clearances on all of the songs. It literally took him forever before he could release the documentary. But if it comes around again, check it out, because you're going to hear every single hit record from the 60s thinking that the group that sings the song is playing the instruments, but none of them are playing the instruments. It's all the Wrecking Crew in every case. This is from the Beach Boys right on down the line to the Association.
So wait a second. I've been meaning to ask you if you ever met Brian Wilson with the Beach Boys.
We met, but I'll have to tell you the story. When we were the Tikis, there was a guy by the name of Larry Mitchell who was a DJ at KLIV in San Jose, which was the big rocker back in those days in San Jose. And Larry always wanted us to open the big shows that he put on at the San Jose Civic. We were the opening act as the Tikis. And so one of the shows that we opened was a Beach Boys show. Well, at the time, the Beach Boys wouldn't even talk to us. They wouldn't even acknowledge us. It was like we were nothing. We were invisible,
kidding.
Right? Yeah, we wouldn't talk to us.
I'm sorry to hear that.
We have Feeling Groovy, and our very first date on the road is in St. Louis at the Kiel Opera House, which is an absolutely spectacular gem of an opera house. And we're on the bill with the Beach Boys. And you would have thought that we were their best friends. That was the way they treated us then. So showbiz makes for strange characters. So, but Brian, I never worked directly with him, but like I say, Van Dyke Parks worked with him.
There's a lot of stuff, Dick, about Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys and his arrangements on YouTube. Now, so it blows me away when you're telling me even the Beach Boys recordings are not necessarily them.
No, they're not them. No. Yeah, you'll see, talk about Hal Blaine. Hal Blaine is probably on a lot of that YouTube stuff, and Brian Wilson is talking to Hal saying, change it a little bit, I'd like to hear this, change this, and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of that stuff interaction.
That is so fascinating.
Yeah.
Maybe if there's time. Well, we want to hear from callers.
I do have some caller correspondence, actually, since you mentioned that. They didn't want to go on air, but one caller mentioned that Don Bascom was in a band called the Syndicate of Sound.
Yep.
And then another caller, she just asked us how we can buy that Wrecking Crew documentary by Tony Donesco's son.
Yeah, okay. I would say just Google it. That's probably the easiest way to find it. I'm not sure who puts it out, but there's probably a way. It might even be a way to just download it on the web. But if you want to buy it, it's probably going to end up on Amazon. I've never checked Amazon to see if it's there, but I'm sure it's available. I have no doubt that it is. And you mentioned Don Baskin. I had Don here on one of my shows a couple of years ago with the Syndicate of Sound. They had their big hit was "Little Girl." Hey, little girl.
Yeah, that's the song the caller mentioned too.
Yeah.
And was that when you were hosting Santa Cruz Oldies But Goodies?
Yeah, that's it.
Nice.
You got it.
Speaking of which, you actually, I don't know if you noticed, but last Sunday around the same time frame that your show is going to take place, I played one of those Santa Cruz Oldies But Goodies replays.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, bring some hype towards that Sunday show.
You know, I have run into more people, not a lot, but in the last week, who said, we heard your show. And I keep asking them, what do you mean? I haven't started the first show. I don't start until tomorrow.
Know.
But now I know.
Explains
Yeah, there you go.
Guilty.
Okay, all right.
Wow. Well, I'm looking at YouTube now, and there's a lot of Brian Wilson. God only knows what an amazing.
Yeah, killer song. Yeah.
It's majestic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even Paul McCartney said that's the best song he has ever heard. I think, and
it is. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, if you read the Mike Love book, which is a really good book, the whole genius thing. We always referred to Brian Wilson as a genius, but we got caught up in what we didn't realize was a PR move. That was purposely done. This is according to Mike Love. That was purposely done to pump up Brian Wilson. They started referring to him as the genius. So that when you hear people talk about the Pet Sounds album, and here
it is. We might as well play a little bit of it. As well,
sure.
Right here.
Yeah.
Here.
Did you know that right now over 70 million people have had to leave their homes due to war and disaster?
Well, wait a minute. Okay, here it is. I object to having to listen to ads when I'm paying not to.
Yeah.
I may not always love you, but long as there are stars above you, you never need to doubt it. I'll make you so sure about it. God only knows what I'd be without you. If you should ever leave me, well, life would still go on, believe me. The world could show nothing to me, so what good would living do me? God only knows what I'd be without you.
percussion happening there.
Yeah.
Interesting with the percussionist. These guys would come in, and I can't think of the guy's name right offhand that was part of the wrecking crew. They would come in with a suitcase full of odd objects that made different sounds. And some of the classic ones would be 2 pieces of sandpaper. And the classic one was a large plastic Coke bottle that would have sand in it. And so
plastic Coke bottle?
A plastic Coke bottle that you could shake back and forth. Depending on how much sand you put in it, you got a different sound of shaker sound. So a lot.
It wouldn't work with glass, probably, right?
Probably not. No, actually, no. With plastic, it is what they used in those days. So, but now, everything's digital, so you can create any sound you want. So I don't know if percussionists use that stuff anymore, but they did back in the day.
God, yeah, it's so amazing. There's so much available on YouTube now. Hey, how does anybody make any money with music now?
I have no idea.
You don't know?
No, I have no idea. I know I get royalty checks from, I'm trying to think of the name of it. I think it's called Soundscape. This is for satellite airplay. They send me royalty checks for stuff that I've written. So,
when do royalties run out?
Well, it used to be 75 years, life plus 75 years. It used to be. I don't know what it is now. I'm not sure. But a copyright would be good for life plus 75 years.
Now, you don't get royalties or residuals from
Warner's, not anymore.
No, but I mean I'm talking about, I guess performers get their performers royalties and writers, publishers.
Publishing.
Yeah,
publishing is a big aspect, and always has been, of the music industry, because it's a second stream of income that record companies used to rely on. So, for example, when you put out a single, you have 2 sides to a single, the A side and the B side, right?
Yep.
Well, the B side gets the same royalty, even though it's never heard by anyone, as the A side, because it's part of the record being made. If you happen to own the publishing rights, let's say you're not only the songwriter of the song, you're, quote, the publisher, the legal publisher.
Why wouldn't everybody do that? Because it costs a lot of money to be a publisher?
Yeah, and at the time, the big publishers sort of put everybody else out of business, so it wasn't anything you normally would do on your own. Today, I'm not even sure if any of those big publishers, the people that have the songbooks for like Cole Porter and people like that, of course, are making money, Rodgers and Hammerstein and what have you, they're still making millions of dollars. But today, the publishing business has probably changed significantly from what it was way back then. But it was a different income stream. So if the record was a dud, you still had a certain amount of sales that would take place where somebody was paying the publisher royalties. So you could lose on the piece of plastic that didn't sell anything, but you could make money from the royalties from the publishing of it. So that was a whole ball game. Albums used to get loaded up with garbage songs, and people would say, why are these garbage songs on this? There's one hit record and garbage.
Most Beatles albums were different.
Yeah.
And actually Harpers Bizarre albums, because you had a lot of songs that were good.
Right, yeah.
That were on the albums.
Yeah.
But most of the albums by most of the artists, it seemed to me, had a bunch of junk on it. They would have only 1 or 2 songs that were worthwhile.
Yeah, and
those are the ones that got the airplay, right?
Yeah, the only reason those are on there is the artists were forced to put them on because of the potential publishing royalties that would come from them. So I didn't care what the song sounded like. It was an
filler,
an item. It was an entity that produced a dollar income. So that's why a lot of albums had a lot of garbage tunes on them. They were just getting publishing money from having the song on the record.
Let's talk about vocal range, or baritone,
right?
Falsetto. What were you singing?
Probably somewhere in what would be known as the alto range is my guess. We never described it that way. As a matter of fact, I never as most rock musicians, I never learned how to read music. As much as I tried, I took 2 different classes in reading music, and I couldn't get it. The brain actually would not compute these dots on a page. I couldn't translate it into music. But when you look at stuff like alto, soprano, baritone, and what have you, we never classified ourselves as that. But Ted and I we were essentially in the exact same vocal range. So that, and he and I were the only 2 on the Harpers records. There was no other singers on Harpers records. But because of the technology, we could go in and start to stack tracks. They used to call it stacking tracks. You'd lay down.
Is that almost like the Les Paul effect?
Yeah. Could have been very, very close to that. The technology is what enabled that, so that you could go in and lay down your first 2 vocals singing together. Then you go back and lay down another set of 2 more of the same vocals. Then you can go back a 3rd time and lay down a set of a harmony to those vocals, and then go back a 4th time. We would go back up to like 15 times on one record, which meant that there were 30 of us singing, right? There was only 2 of us actually singing, but there was 30 voices that you were hearing on the record. So
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So, did you ever try to sing something that you couldn't?
Well, interesting story on that. There was a technique, a recording technique, and now since it's all digital, you can't compare it to what we were doing with tape back in the day. We used to use 2-inch Ampex tape for 24-track recording. One of the things that we would do, there's something odd that happens in the movement or tempo of a song, and this applies to virtually any song that's recorded, and that is when you hit the tempo exactly right, you get the perfect tempo, the song falls into a groove, like a slot, and it feels right. It just feels is the best word to describe it. It feels right. So how do you achieve that? It was a technique called rapping, not the rapping we think of today, R-A-P, but rapping like Christmas rapping, W-R-A-P.
Yeah.
If you think of a tape recorder and you look at one reel and the tape coming across the record head to go to the other reel, there's a spindle that's revolving, constantly revolving, right? If you take a piece of masking tape and you put one piece of masking tape on that spindle, you have increased the size of the spindle by 1/1000th of an inch or whatever that amount is.
Right.
It now pulls the tape through faster. Your voice goes up. Because that's the way it used to happen. When you speed things up, it's like the Chipmunks, right? You speed them up, your voice goes up. Well, on Feelin' Groovy, we had 5 raps. That was 5 pieces of masking tape. It took it out of our vocal range on stage. We couldn't sing it that high. But it didn't matter. The audience had no clue that it was out of our vocal range, but we couldn't sing it that high.
What were they hearing? This other thing?
No, it wasn't so much that they were hearing anything different. It was simply that the song was moving at a faster speed, and because of the faster speed, our vocals went up, along with everything else going up in terms of the what key it was in. So if it was in the key of C, they were hearing it in the key of C sharp on the record, but we couldn't sing it in the key of C sharp because our voices wouldn't go that high. So live, we couldn't sing it that high. But again, the audience would have no way of knowing there was any difference between C and C sharp. There's no way for an audience to tell the difference between those two things. But that inhibited our ability to match the record exactly on stage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So did any of you take vocal lessons?
I did early on, and I can't remember the name of the woman that I went to see. This is even before the Tikis. This goes back to folk singing days. And She had me doing da 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 da. Anyway, I did that for I think about a month, and then I decided this is not really getting me anywhere. She probably would have been a great opera teacher, but for singing folk music, it wasn't really necessary. So I did a very short stint with that, and then that was the end of that.
How about others? Well, it was only Ted. It was the only other vocalist in the group.
Yeah.
Did he train at all? Or just taught himself, basically?
Taught himself, yeah.
Jeez. Well, it shows to go you that can happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And especially, I'm blown away by so many people. Now you've been added to the list of people who don't read music.
That's common. That's very common, actually, with rock.
Is that the
people.
same as playing by ear?
Yeah, you could say that, sure, yeah.
Because my father used to do that. He could read music.
Okay.
He never did. I mean, he rarely did. He would just sit down at the piano and start, putting out stuff. And it sounded good.
Yeah. The only distinction I think I could make between any of that stuff would be people that have what is known as perfect pitch.
Yeah.
I don't think there are very many of them around. I could never do that.
I had one on the Saturday special.
Did you really?
He was blind. And he was the guy who became friendly with Captain Crunch. The guy who had the whistle from the Captain Crunch cereal and would blow, and he could figure out how to make long distance calls for free.
Okay, yeah.
That was before long distance was essentially free for everybody, like it is now.
Right.
Using the internet. But yeah, one of the best Saturday specials I ever did was with John Draper, he got dubbed Captain Crunch. And he's still living. He's a total character. I think Dr. and Mrs. Future have had him on their program fairly recently, within the last year or two, I think. I had him on probably 20 years ago, and it was when the internet was pretty new, and somehow I used it to catch up with him and get a phone number for him. And to go after the blind guy that everybody heard about in the same breath, basically.
Yeah, right.
And I found him, and his name was Joseph Egresia, and he's no longer living. I know he passed, but he had perfect pitch, and I knew it because I would dial a phone number when he was listening, when he was one of the guests on the Saturday special show. And he would tell me what numbers I just dialed.
Oh, for God's sakes. Oh, jeez.
God. It would be so cool. Is there anybody in the KSCO listening audience who has perfect pitch?
Yeah, it'd be fun to talk to.
Yeah. Call 479-1080 during the next minute and a quarter. And if you can't do that, or if you know someone who does, have them call the next KSCO Saturday special next week, right? So anyhow, hey, well, I guess we're in the home stretch, Dick Scoppettone. It's been an honor and a privilege I've known you for years, but I've always wanted to do this kind of a program with you.
Well, that's fun. Thank you, by the way, for doing it. It's fun to just kind of yak on about stuff we remember, and same idea for the Oldtimers show, stuff we remember. The good old days, I guess you could say.
So you're going to be here in the studio tomorrow.
Yeah.
Except you'll be sitting in the host seat, as you have many times before. And who are the guests tomorrow?
Ted Whiting.
Ted Whiting, from
the Boardwalk, and Jay Topping from Scotts Valley.
Oh, fantastic.
And we're going to have our intern, Sid Freeland, is going to do a 15-minute segment as well. He's never done it before, so it's a first for him.
That'll be great. Well, hey, that's all, folks. That's it for today. And